Alright, in today's video, I will be sharing with you the HZ of setting up a travels and tours company in Nigerian. And these are specifically the things that you will be learning in this video. Company formation, how do you form a company in Nigeria, trademark protection, essential contracts for your travels and tours company, and these are the things that you'll be learning in this video. Make sure you stay till the end so you get all the information that you need. So let's get started. Forming a company in Nigeria, form a travels and tours company in Nigeria. Why do we even bother to register a company in Nigeria? If you want to do business in Nigeria, it is important that you know that there are regulations that guides businesses, and this includes you doing business in Nigeria and making sure that it's registered. So the law of Nigeria, specifically the Companies and Allied Matters Act, established the Corporate Affairs Commission, and all businesses in Nigeria have to register with the Corporate Affairs Commission for them to be legalized to run their business in Nigeria. So the Corporate Affairs Commission, and I will be referring to them as CAC subsequently in this video, is the body with which you register your company, your business in Nigeria. All right, so let's get started. Now, when you are registering a company, there are some basic things that you need to pay attention to, and I would start with share capital. Now, let me state that share capital, when you are registering a company, part of the requirement is that you register the company with a particular share capital. Now, does the share capital figure mean that you should be setting up your company with that amount? No, you could have a capital that is actually valued at more than this figure. But when you are the authorized share capital with which you would register that company with the CAC is 30 million for a travels and tours company. All right. So depending what determines the share capital with which a company would be registered is determined by the type of business that the company will be involved in, and sometimes too, if a foreigner is involved as a shareholder in the company. All right, so please take note of the difference between capital. Now remember that when you are starting a business, what we're taught in economics, the things you need to start a business, you need land, you need labor, you need capital. Could be in form of cash, it could be in form of infrastructure, it could be in form of expertise, it could be in form of network. Okay, now let me quickly state that shares is a property. Now, share capital is like a pizza. You know that when you have a pizza and you want to eat it, you eat it slice by slice. And let's say you have two people and they have a pan of pizza, they could have the pizza divided into two equal halves, and then they take it slice by slice. Now, when a company is being set up, the share capital is going to be given out to shareholders, and these shareholders could loosely be called the owners of the company. Now, let me quickly state that owning a share in a company is like owning property, because I have had instances where people have met me and said, oh, when I registered my business to satisfy the regulatory requirements, I had to get someone on board to be a shareholder, because previously in Nigeria you needed to have at least two people to be two shareholders and then two directors. And so oftentimes, even for a business that was conceived, that is being actually run and owned by an individual, they have to bring in an additional person to be a shareholder. And then with time, they now come to me for advice and say, oh, I really don't want this person to be a shareholder again. And then I let them know that shares is like property. If I sell property to you, I cannot come and take it back except you agree to either sell it back to me, give it back to me on whatever terms that you agree to. So it's important that when you are choosing a shareholder, you want to take note of this. What is this best person bringing to the table? What type of capital are they bringing into this company? It's very key. Now, we've also had instances, for instance, where two people start up a business. They are the shareholders, they are the directors, they are working on the business day to day. And the basis upon which they got shares in that company was, we would work in this company and then we would share the dividends. That's the profit. Now, what then happens sometimes is maybe one of the shareholders decides, oh, I really cannot continue doing this job anymore. It's taking a while for this business to get traction and decides to go a different route. Okay, maybe decides to take a job and then they are no longer available to work on the company. Now, oftentimes this causes a problem, because remember I said that shares is property. If both of you were supposed to maybe start a business and work on the business and one person leaves, that the person has left the day-to-day running does not deny them of being entitled to their shares. And so if, for instance, in future you're exiting the company, the person will be entitled to having a part of that. If you are sharing dividend, the person will be entitled to be a part of that. And that's why this vesting agreement is important. So oftentimes this can be a smart way of saying, okay, let us decide what exactly are you giving in return for these shares. So let's decide that, okay, for the first 10 years, nobody is going to leave this company. We are going to stick our foot in and get our feet dirty and work hard. And would only get the shares as we are working in the company, okay? So I'm using that as an example for what you are vesting based on, okay, the work you'll be doing in the company. So let's say, for instance, you should get 100,000 shares. Instead of giving everything out in the first year, you want to now spread it over those 10 years. So if you then decide that after 4 years you don't want to work in the company again, you would have gotten only 40,000 shares, 10,000 per year. So I hope you understand that. So that's one thing that you could help when you are giving out shares, so that you can ensure that you have the right people on board. Now, when you are setting up a company in Nigeria, you can have the company have a director and a shareholder, unlike before when it has to be minimum 2 people. But please note that this can only happen where there are no directors involved as a shareholder. When you are going to have shareholders who are when you're going to have shareholders who are foreigners, you will need a minimum of 2 directors and you will need a minimum of 2 shareholders. All right, so please note that, and that's very important. Now let's talk about a director. We've talked about a shareholder, and let's look at what a director, what are the functions of a director, what do they do for the company, and it's very important to state that. Now, a director is someone who brings something to the table and to the company. They must be competent. That's very key. So I've had instances where people will say, oh, my uncle has been so helpful to me, blah, blah, blah. I'll put him on the board of directors. Oh, my friend, blah, blah, blah. There must be something that the person is bringing to the table. Now, someone who's going to be a director has to be available for meetings, has to be available for the business. So you want that to be clear. You want to be clear that the people that are forming the board of directors are available. So, and let me now give you an option. For instance, if you want some people on the board, maybe you want to order them or something, you might not put them on the board of directors. You might just have a board of advisors. So those ones are not registered with the CAC. Directors are registered with the CAC. When you register your company, you will be required to submit the details of the directors. But for the advisors, they are an informal board. So they do not necessarily have to have meetings all the time and be available, all right? They are just there as advisors. So that might work where you are having a business that you want some people to be on board, but you know that they might not readily be available for the day-to-day running or the smooth operation of the business on a recurring basis. Okay, so now that we have settled that, let's look at the procedure. What's the procedure of setting up a business, a travels and tours company in Nigeria? The first is reserving a name. And yes, name is very important, because one of the essence of registering a business is that your company name is legally recognized by the CAC and it's yours to use exclusively. So reserving a name is usually the first step, and then you file your application with the Corporate Affairs Commission. And these are the details that you will need. So you will need the directors, just like I said. You need shareholders. They must be above 18 years. And then you need their details, so their address, their email, their phone number, their home address. You would need the details of the company. So your company needs to have an address in Nigeria at the time of registration. It's very important. What's the physical address, email address, phone number? And then the MEMAT, so we call the Memorandum of Association and the Articles of Association the MEMAT, and they are the constitution of the company. And it's very important that when you are setting up a business, you get a lawyer to draft this for you, because they form like the first laws for the company that is just being formed. Okay, now when you, after you do that, you also now want to register with the necessary regulatory authorities. It's very important. So basically that is that for company formation when you are setting up a travels and tours company in Nigeria. Remember what I talked about at the beginning? I said we'll look at other things, because when it comes to legally structuring your business, it does not stop at registering your company. There are a lot more. And the next is trademarks. Okay, it's important to protect the trademark of that company. What are marks? What are trademarks? The registered names, symbols, or designs that represent your company or your products are distinguishing it from others. For instance, there are certain logos that we see, there are certain symbols that we see, and then we immediately associate them with the company that owns it or with the product. All right, that's a mark. When you now register it, that's a trademark. For instance, when you hear everywhere you go, what company is that? Let me know in the comment section. Okay, but you see, that's how it works. When we see the Coca-Cola bottle, the Coca-Cola logo, anywhere you see it, even without them writing the full Coca-Cola, you know, oh, this is Coke. So you see, the trademarks are very important because they have to distinguish your product, and essentially they then become a property for the company because it's intellectual property. Okay, now when you register a travels and tours company, it's not enough to have the company registered. You should also protect the trademark of the company. All right, so you want to register the trademark, you want to apply for a trademark over the company's maybe the company's logo, the design and image, or anything that's is going to make your company that we would see and will make us immediately identify with your company. So oftentimes I've seen entrepreneurs who make this mistake of just starting a business and waiting until it's so well known before they register the trademark. And the thing is, sometimes you have unscrupulous elements who could take that logo that you have designed and then they will go and register it. Okay, I specifically remember a case like that of one young guy doing very amazing things in a particular industry. I wouldn't be able to say the industry for confidentiality purposes, but unfortunately he never paid attention to trademarks, and then he had someone who then went ahead to file that as trademark because he had his name that he was using that everyone knew him by. So that person went ahead to file a trademark at the registry of that same name. And you know, because he didn't file first, that was how he lost the right to use that name. So you see, that's why it's important that once you've started your business, you should also protect your trademarks. It's very key. I hope this has been helpful. Let me know in the comment section as we then go to one of my most favorite parts of setting up a company in Nigeria. And these are essential contracts for your business. So you see, contracts are a big part of commercial transactions. When you set up your travels and tours company, you actually set it up to do business. You set it up to enter into a contract of selling travels and tours services. And it's important to have the contracts written out and clearly spelled so that it becomes legally binding between the parties and it reduces unnecessary disputes. For instance, we have the website terms of use. So a lot of travels and tours companies do their business via websites. So for instance, you want to travel, we don't have to go to your physical office. We simply go to your website to book a flight and then do all the necessary paperwork. Now, you should have a terms of use for that website for those who are using your services. What are the terms of using your service? What are the terms and conditions? Your clients should be able to see everything clearly on your website. Number 2 is your privacy policy, because you have access to a lot of data from your clients. You should have a privacy policy. What about the refunds policy? Do you do refunds? Is it what are the terms and conditions that will make your clients liable for you to do a refund for them? You want those to be expressly stated, of course. And this is very key because you would have employees, definitely. All right, You would have employees. You want to ensure that you have a contract with your employees, clearly stating what they have been employed to do, the terms of engagement with the company, their duties, their obligations, what they would benefit, and what the company expects of them. So you see, these are very important things you have to take note of when you are setting up a travels and tours company in Nigeria. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the comment section, and I would be glad to answer them. And if you need our services, at my law firm Carries Legal Practice, we offer these services that we have talked about in this video. You can click the link in the description below, and we would be glad to work with you. Thank you for watching, and make sure to check my channel for more valuable content like this on business law. I'll see you in the next video.